What's up, everybody? Welcome to Touchdown Texas, episode 15. I'm your host, Shiva Patel, and my co host, Nick Rodriguez. Unfortunately, we're coming off a Horns loss to the Georgia Bulldogs last night, 22-19 in the SEC Championship. It was a bummer, but it was a good overall game. But, Nick, how are you feeling after the loss last night?
Well, I mean, definitely disappointed and bummed out. I didn't think we put our best team out there on Saturday night, but we'll talk about all those details and everything. But we'll also talk about where the bracket shaked out, and it maybe ended up working out for us. But definitely disappointed. But we'll get into everything right here.
Yep, for sure. And before we talk about dive deep into the game, I just wanted to say be sure to follow us at touchdown_Texas on our social media and also on YouTube. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channel and like our videos. We definitely appreciate all the fan support. So before we talk about the actual game, the playoff bracket got revealed last night. So let's talk about this bracket reveal. Again, Texas coming in as a 5 seed. Arizona State, Oregon, Boise State, and Georgia end up getting the buys. So, what are your overall takeaways looking at this bracket?
Well, I think it's pretty positive for Texas fans. I mean, no, you don't get the bye week, but you do get a home playoff game against Clemson, which would be great. It would be a great game, great atmosphere in Austin. And then after that, if we're able to win that one, which I think we will, I think we're favored, then we move on to play Arizona State, another winnable game. So I think it favors us very well, where I think a lot of Texas fans are going to be wanting to see us at least go to the semifinals. I don't want to project too far yet. We need to focus on Clemson over the next few weeks, but I think it shakes out pretty well. But, for other teams, it's a little bit more difficult of a path depending on who you are. But for us, it looks pretty favorable.
Yeah, I definitely like the first round matchup against Clemson. Again, this is the first time in college football history that Clemson and Texas have ever played against one another. And we're now in the new 12-team format. So that means the first round the games are all on campus. So it's going to be a DKR. It's going to be rocking Saturday, December 21st. Next week, Texas doesn't play. So me and Nick will be back and giving you a full preview of not only that game, but the college football playoff bracket in general. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. So also before we start to the game, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Texas X's Atlanta chapter. They hosted a variety of events this weekend, Friday and Saturday before the game. Friday, the event that me and Nick were at was the welcome party. It's the Texas X's welcome party, and we ran into some former Longhorns there. So let's show. We have a little fan video of Quan Cosby. He's a former Longhorn wide receiver from 2005 to 2008. He's a national champion and he played in the NFL. So let's see what he thought. This was again Friday evening before the Longhorns took on the Georgia.
Hey, Quan Cosby, hook 'em. It's so good to be in Atlanta. The Aggies are not sure what this is, but this is the SEC championship. And so to come from Austin, to come see so many great Longhorns, we're excited. I feel pretty good about the game tomorrow. Kudos to the Atlanta chapter of Texas X's. Y'all phenomenal. Thank you for putting this event on. And let's do it a lot more.
So that was Quan Cosby, and I also want to play some more fan videos as throughout the episode. But before we dive too deep, I also want to play Bobby Burden from On Texas.
Hey, hook up! I'm Bobby Burden of On Texas Football. We're here at the Atlanta Texas X's Friday night party, having a little get together before the Longhorns take on Georgia tomorrow. I'm really excited about a chance for a little revenge on the Bulldogs after what happened in Austin about a month and a half ago. Excited about what we'll see. Excited about the number 1 recruiting class as well for Texas. Hook 'em, guys. Have a good one.
So again, shout out to both of those gentlemen. We appreciate their support, and it was great to meet them. But let's dive into the game now. So again, Texas falls 22-19 in overtime in the SEC championship in Atlanta, where me and Nick are currently at right now. So let's start with the offense. What are your takeaways from the offensive performance on Saturday?
I think it was not capitalizing on possessions that we drove the ball or we got turnovers. It was just a lot of missed opportunities. I think Texas, obviously Georgia has a great defense and they prevented us a lot in the running game. Wisner wasn't able to get off as much as he was against A&M, which is big, but not being able to take care of or convert on certain opportunities. I mean, people want to blame Quinn Ewers a lot, but I think overall he played a really good game. He had a couple of interceptions. One of them wasn't his fault, I would say. And it's just the missed field goals, driving down the field and getting nothing, having to punt. Ultimately, I think is what cost us. And I think we are the better team. We just didn't show that on Saturday. And hopefully we get another chance down the road. But definitely a lot of missed opportunities on Saturday.
Definitely. And speaking to those missed opportunities, so there's a stat, Texas was inside the Georgia 35-yard line 6 times in the red zone, 6 times of 6 possessions, basically. Well, all the times we never got a touchdown. Our one touchdown was a long touchdown pass, but we were not in the red zone. So we got 4 out of 6 field goals. But those 6 times, Georgia got 4 sacks out of their 6 sacks total that they got in the game. So that means we were really behind the chains and in tough, yardage situations. Texas had 18 total third downs in this game. 10 out of those third downs were 3rd and 9 plus. Only 4 were 3rd and short, which means 3rd and 4. Compared to the Georgia Bulldogs, had 15 third downs, and 8 of those third downs were 3rd and 4 and 3rd and below. So Georgia did a great job of putting us in long yardage situations, and that's where Quinn threw. And that's where Quinn threw his 2 picks. It was a 3rd and 10 play and a 3rd and 17 play. Like Nick said, the first play, I don't blame him as much. Yes, the ball was behind Isaiah Bond, but you have to catch it. You can't let the ball go up in the air and get intercepted, by the Georgia defender. So missed opportunities was a big thing, especially the red zone. And our issues from the red zone last year came back and reared their ugly head in this game when against the Georgia team, you have to capitalize and get touchdowns. And we were only up 6-3 at halftime in the first half. And we could have been up more, 21-3, maybe 24-3. And it's because of those missed opportunities in the red zone.
I mean, definitely. I mean, that stat is amazing. You said it the other day, and it's amazing to get down there that many times and not be able to convert. I mean, we saw similar things against A&M as well, and just keep shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, luckily with A&M, the defense played outstanding, and we were able to, win that ball game. But with Georgia, you can't do that as much. You can't Georgia or all the other elite teams like in Oregon, Ohio State, Tennessee, you can't shoot yourselves in the foot that many times and expect to win. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in that game that I know Texas fans are frustrated about. Maybe it's the penalties and whatever, but at the end of the day, they lost their quarterback in the first half and they were playing with the backup. And I don't know, he brought some sort of spark and, he looked really good. So there's no real excuse for Texas or Texas fans. I mean, we just could not convert when we really wanted to. There were some bad breaks. There were some missed calls. There were some balls that bounce one way or the other and maybe win the ball game, but you can't rely on that. You have to score, and that's the name of the game. The defense, does its thing, but you really got to punch it in. I'm not here for all the Quinn hate. He threw for over 300 yards. He had a great day. He wasn't getting a lot of help. We had a lot of drops, a lot of offensive penalties. So there's a lot that we could be frustrated by, but I think if you also look at the positive and go, guys, if we can fix this stuff, and we've been saying this for a while, maybe it's too little too late, but if we can fix these things, and some of these things are so fixable, we're going to be a really scary team. So we'll see what Sark does over the next few weeks before we play again.
Yep, we need to get into the lab, and it's just, mentally and physically, we have to be on the same page. Communication needs to get better. 11 penalties. 8 of those penalties came at halftime, which was absolutely brutal. The holding calls 3 of them were by our wide receivers. We had illegal shifts. Ball start. It was just very sloppy, and that's what results you getting behind the chains. And Georgia feast on that. We also had 6 drops by our wide receiver. Bond had a crucial drop. Gunnar Helm had a wide open pass that was dropped. Even Ryan Wingo, yes, he's a true freshman, but he had 2 drops, and both of them were in the red zone. And we thought, he was more advanced for his age, but he'll learn, and he's going to need to play more, especially now with Isaiah Bond apparently injuring that same ankle that he had with the previous game. We don't know his status for Clemson, so we're going to need Ryan Wingo to play more and play better throughout this playoffs for Texas to be able to be successful. But look for more Silas Bolden as well, because Silas Bolden had a game last night. So did DeAndre Moore. Certain guys stepped up, but we didn't have that go-to guy like we did with Isaiah Bond, where Georgia has to respect, because Georgia was playing a lot of 7 men in the box, crowded by the line of scrimmage, and basically daring Texas to throw the ball. And the few chances that we had, successful chances we had running the ball, they were outside, and when Georgia was playing more cover 2 or zone coverage. So Georgia did not respect the fact that Quinn could throw the ball. They were blitzing Quinn, and at times his pocket presence was good, but at times it wasn't his fault. There was a defender right in his face, and what do you expect him to do? So it's a tough situation for sure. But we have to talk about the quarterback now, Quinn Ewers. So I looked at Pro Football Focus, PFF, and Quinn actually had a grade of 86. The second highest on offense behind Silas Bolden, and one of his highest grades of the season. So how would you grade QB1 Quinn Ewers last night?
I give him a B+. I really don't think I think his performance is being way blown out of proportion. He had 2 interceptions, one, in the first drive of the game. Again, it's a ball that he probably shouldn't have thrown. Bond, I'm been holding. There's a lot happening there, but ultimately, if you remember, it didn't cost Texas anything. I mean, if anything, it killed our drive, which you could say that, but that's not all on him. The second one he threw was a mistake, but he threw for over 300 yards. The play calling wasn't as helpful. I mean, but to me, the biggest thing, I know you talked about the penalties, which is massive, but the drops were killer. You talked about Ryan Wingo drop. I mean, it felt like everybody had a drop, and those are possession killers. As much as a holding is a possession killer, which it definitely is, a drop. I mean, and these drops were money throws right in the hands, drop, or a difficult catch, like you were mentioning Ryan Wingo and other guys who just dropped the ball. You got to catch those in the big game. You got to catch those against Georgia. You got to. And I know our guys were mad and upset, but that we didn't win this game, and everyone wants to jump on Quinn and Burt Auburn, but Quinn played well. The 2 interceptions, I get it. That's where I'm penalizing him. But he got us down the field. He got us in possessions. There's a few missed pass interference calls that could have helped us. He threw a big touchdown to Moore, right? So you can't put everything on Quinn, right? I do think Arch should have gotten a little bit more playing time as he did against A&M. I think that would have helped. He had one play, and he didn't even get the ball. It went to Wisner for a first down, which was awesome. I love that. Why didn't we see more of that in the second half? I feel like we took our foot off the gas once the backup came in for Georgia in the second half. We had them. We had them right where we wanted to, and we just we got this. And then they came out and punched us in the mouth, and we're like, whoa, what is going on? Bottom line is, this is not all on Quinn. People need to get off the Quinn hate train. I see stuff all over Twitter and TikTok of Quinn needs to get out of here, Team Arch or whatever. But look, I love Arch, but this is Quinn's team. We've been saying it for months. And just if Arch plays and it's the same kind of thing, like holding and you can't run the ball, keep the same energy, right? I saw that somewhere on Twitter. It's going to, you got to, we need to use them both right now. Let him do the RPO like he did against A&M. But Quinn had a good game. He had a few mistakes, but others dropped the ball in this game too.
Yeah, as any quarterback, I thought in the first half, he was really good. What really set our offense back was that questionable offensive PI call on Bond at the beginning of the game. The refs were already setting the precedent. All year, we've been complaining about not getting PI calls. Well, the SEC hasn't called a lot of PIs all year, but now in the championship game, they want to get tied all of a sudden in PI. It just doesn't make any sense.
That. I hate when they do that.
Exactly. So, and Quinn also threw, if you remember, threw a perfect pass to Matthew Golden, and it was just dropped. It was one of the prettier passes that he's thrown all year. But I don't want to get on Golden too much because Golden was amazing yesterday. 162 yards. Even DeAndre Moore, that slant pass that he threw to Moore that he took all the way out to the house, that was perfectly placed. How else would Moore be able to get the yards after catch and be able to run for a touchdown?
Yeah.
So, and I thought his pocket presence overall was pretty good. Of course, he's not going to make people miss. He doesn't have the quickest feet in the pocket.
His ankle is still healing.
His ankle, yes. And Georgia's defense is really physical, but he navigated the pocket well at times. He went down to his check down at times. Of course, at times he locked onto his first read too much, but he went through his progressions, and he was not the problem in this game when there was other overarching problems that we've talked about, in this game. But also a big stat, another stat that was huge was in the first half, Texas outgained Georgia 260 to 54 yards, doubling their time of possession in the first half. We'll flip the page to the second half. Georgia had 143 rushing yards, and they doubled the time of possession from Texas. So it was completely split in the second half than it was in the first half. And play calling, like Nick said, it was questionable at times, like especially that last possession. We were using the middle of the field very well with the slants and the curl routes and the crossing routes. Why did we go away from that? Why did we throw three fades to the end zone when we know that's not Quinn's forte and we've not been able to get the ball deep on Georgia? Why don't we just keep, gashing them over the middle? It just didn't make any sense to me.
I agree. I mean, I don't mind taking one shot, maybe even two, right? And just being like, all right, let's just go for it. I mean, and some of those were, I thought Quinn on those balls, he's talking about 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I mean, we're right there, right? Why not go for it? I mean, you should. And his balls to me were great. I just think there could have been some holding, pass interference, but in the end, it doesn't matter how many penalties they call. You have to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't mind taking a couple shots, but you can't take 3 or 4. I mean, or you can't take 3 because then obviously we end up taking the field goal on fourth down. So I think you take 1, and then you start. Let's go over the middle. Let's get something else over the middle. Maybe a little RPO with Arch or something like that. Get a little more creative instead of just settling for a field goal. Let's go win this game. And I feel like we were a little too careful sometimes, a little too afraid of the moment sometimes. I'm like, man, guys, come on. Like,
I agree
maybe it's one of those things of like, oh my God, we have him and then it's slipping away. We got blown out last time at home. But guys, like, take it, go take it. And you got to be kicking yourself if you're a Texas fan or a player and stuff. And hopefully that kick gets him in the right gear, because we've said this all year long about playing with fire. Jaden Blue playing with fire, fumbling. He didn't fumble, on Saturday, but you know what I mean? It's just, if you play with fire too much, if you play with your food too much, it's going to cost you. And we play with our food way too much against Georgia. I mean, that yardage that you broke down is insane.
Yeah.
The game shouldn't be close. 260 to 54. The game shouldn't be close.
In the first half, it should have been 21-3 in the first half.
It should be 21-3.
Yeah.
24-3. It shouldn't be close. That's no disrespect to Georgia either. It's just, if you move we beat A&M by 10. That game was close. That game shouldn't have been close. That's a problem. That game should have been 30-7. And if you watch that game, that's not an exaggeration. Texas should have won. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just, you got to capitalize, and you're not going to get very far if you don't. I think we will. I think Sark's got to be pissed. And maybe that's good that we lost and go, you know what? You need to get your head out of your butt, and you need to be more physical. You need to be more mentally sharp, and you need to take advantage of these opportunities. The good thing is that we're getting these opportunities, right? I mean, it's one thing if we're going 3 and out on the 20, like, man, we can't score, right? But we're right there. Like, we're right there, and we can't score. That is so frustrating. Hopefully it turns around soon.
Yeah, and the play calling at times did not help Quinn. Just getting back to that, conversation, like, we were too reliant on those screens, those screen passes to the wide receivers or the running backs. But what did I tell you, Nick, when we were watching the game? Georgia's too fast for that. They can sniff that out. They know what's coming, and our guys aren't that, and they don't have a chance to break tackles because Georgia has like 3 guys over there, and give credit to them. They're really good at tackling, and that stuff works against some of the lesser teams.
That's what they want Texas to do. That's what they want us to do.
And we had too many dropbacks where Quinn had to take a 3-step or 5-step drop rather than using the RPO game because because our we got beat in the trenches. Our offensive line was struggling to block the Georgia defensive tackles, and Quinn was getting pressure in his face pretty much all game. And he made the most of it. Like he stood in there. He was tough. I give Quinn Ewers that. He was not answering the pocket. He stood in there tough, try to make the reads, try to make the throws, but when your clock is hurried like that as a quarterback, it makes it tough to go through your progressions and know where you're supposed to go with the ball. And start calling these long developing routes down the field or everything, that does not help Quinn out to nullify this Georgia pass rush. So that was the offense. Now let's switch to the defense. So, Georgia's quarterback, Carson Beck, not Carson Wentz, Carson Beck did not have the best game last night. He ended up getting injured, but the running game was what really took off in the second half. How do you think the defense played?
I thought they played well. I mean, I think for the defense, and this is what we've been saying basically, is it's been the calling card of the team. And you give up 22 points to Georgia. They were holding them to field goals in the first half. That first drive in the third quarter, Georgia goes down and scores a touchdown. You cannot put this on Texas's defense. This is on Texas's offense. They made the stops when they had to. This game went all the way to overtime. They had multiple fumbles. Too bad we didn't recover any of them, but we had an interception that almost led to a touchdown. The fumble at the end of the first half. So it's another A+ for me. My only gripe with the Texas defense, one play. Can you guess what the play is?
I think I do. I think I know.
Go ahead. What's the play?
Was it in the second half?
It's in overtime.
Oh, in overtime.
Beck comes back in the game. His arm is dead, and we are backed up like he's going to throw the ball. Load the box.
Yeah.
Load the box. He's not going to throw it. He can't. So that's my one gripe. You give up a touchdown. We end up losing the game 22-19. Other than that, it's one play, A+ for the defense. I thought they played fantastic. They gave your team a chance to win the game. And the offense and special teams, sorry, Bert, but we just didn't capitalize. And you know what? I'm going to say something about Bert real quick. This is not on Bert either. This is not on Bert either. This is on the offense. He should have made those other two. That maybe changes the game. Maybe not. But the offense, you cannot win a championship with field goals. You can't. So it's not completely on Bert. It's not on the defense. The offense needs to be better. End of story.
Yeah, you can't win the game kicking field goals, especially when the game is at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, when the crowd is 75% Georgia crowd.
Right.
So,
touchdown. Right.
Yes. And we did get 3 turnovers off the Georgia offense. And again, it could have been 5 turnovers if we recovered the fumble. Johnny Barron, who pretty much wrapped up the Thorpe Award, had an amazing interception. If Gilbo just stayed in front of the guy, and that would have been a 6-6. Yeah, it would have been a touchdown. Yeah, and but our defense, we weren't able to get pressure on as much, in the second half when Carson Beck went out. But in the first half, Colin Simmons had a quarterback hurry, a quarterback sack. How did that ball when Colin Simmons knocked it out of Carson Beck's hand? How did it just go out of bounds? The ball in that situation never goes out of bounds. It just stays like that's just another break that Georgia got. But hey, whatever. It was just brutal. But Michael Taft had a good game. Like our secondary, they weren't allowing a lot of big passes, at all to the Georgia receivers. We did struggle to stop the run again. ETN had 94 yards. And he killed us. He was probably their offensive MVP the first time we played them, and he had another good game, last night. So I thought also in the second half that we got really conservative, with the backup quarterback. So Carson Beck ended up getting hurt. Trey Moore, who's been coming on lately, got a sack, and then Carson Beck landed hard on his throwing shoulder. So he ended up going out. And then Gunnar Stockton comes in, and we were prepared for Gunnar Stockton, but he's a running quarterback. But instead, we play, coverage and zone, and that allows Gunnar Stockton to he got 4 first downs running the football, and he was able to. Sense. It doesn't make any sense. And where was the blitzes? Where was the pressures? We made him get comfortable out there, and he was able to do whatever he wanted to do. He did throw that one interception, so when we actually made him throw the ball, you see that he's not a very good thrower at all.
No.
But Nick, like, how do you not prepare for, like him running, especially when he's running the ball? They were slow to adjust. But you're shocked when he first comes in, but you have to adjust and you have to throw him different looks. So I thought that could have been better. But overall, I give the defense an A- because they got 3 turnovers. They held Georgia to field goals. And but also I wanted to talk about the fake punt. The fake punt, it was on the 30-yard line of 4th and 5. Georgia's punter even got hurt. So you had a backup punter. And Sark said we set up for the return, but you had to expect that Kirby's going to do something crazy like a fake punt. And we didn't expect it at all. And as a result, they drive down the field, 16 plays, they kick a field goal, and they get the lead 16-13. So that was a backbreaker as well.
I mean, that's huge. It's just, and that's the frustrating part, because I think if you go talent-wise, we're right there with Georgia, but damn, the quarterback goes out and the foot on the gas went off. Right? Doesn't mean the intensity wasn't there. It just wasn't where it needed to be. And I think honestly, it sounds weird. I think if Beck is in there, I think we win this football game, because I think we're like more intense and we're more on them and all this stuff. But we let him get comfortable. And then by the time we decided to make adjustments, he was already too comfortable and he was able to do things. Like I think you need to go after him, all out blitz, and try to hit him, and Makuba hits him at the very end of the game and, almost kills the guy. But I mean, guys, where is that the entire game? Like, we need this, right? Where's the urgency? I feel like there was no urgency from our guys sometimes. And, Georgia, I mean, kudos to Georgia. I mean, first possession in the second half, they go down, first touchdown of the game, right? They go and take the lead. Let's go. Like, let's go. Let's make a stop. Like you said, with the punt, you have to be expecting that. It's a backup punter. Their punter is out for the rest of the game. He's a really good punter. Okay. They're in a position of the field. It's not like they're on the 15 of their own 15. Like, they could lose this and, not be in a horrible position, right? So they could go for it. So you'd have to be thinking about those things. But got to keep in mind, even though this is Sark's 4th year, this is bigger football than he's used to. He's building this program, right? This is where we're trying to get to. So Kirby had those learning moments too. So did Dabo and other great coaches, Saban, when he was building up LSU and Alabama. So we'll get there. We have to be patient. I mean, we had 2 losses and they're to Georgia. It sucks, but it's a great team. So hopefully we get a chance at them later this year. As you showed the bracket, that would be a national championship game. We'll see how they do with or without Carson Beck. That's massive, but it's time to focus on Clemson now.
Yes, and to your point about Sark and building this program, if we remember, it took Smart a while to even beat Nick Saban, and then he finally broke through in that national championship game. So, we're close. We were much closer than we were the first time. We still need to continue to build up the trenches, in my opinion, because there's still a little bit of a difference.
You can always keep building.
Yes, between their offensive alignment and our defensive alignment. So we'll eventually get to the Georgia level, but we're recruiting really well. We have the #1 recruiting class in 2025. We've signed a 5-star out of Manchester, Georgia, which is near Columbus, Georgia. So those that are familiar with this area, and he's a stud, top 5 player in the country. So our defensive line was able to get pressure on Carson Beck and Gunnar Stockton, but it wasn't consistent enough. I don't think our linebackers had that great of a game. They were going through the wrong gaps at times. They missed some tackles. The defense in general missed some tackles. But I was impressed with the secondary. Muhammad, Jahdae Bear, and Taft. They played well. It's just Georgia was able to get the running game going, and as a result, they added a dimension of a running quarterback, and it was just too much for us to stop. Towards the end. But again, we'll bounce back. We got a favorable draw as the number 5 seed. But again, I don't want to say this enough. But again, congratulations to Georgia for winning the SEC championship game, and we'll see them again. I'm confident that we'll see them again for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, good. So awesome. So now that we talked about the defense overall, let's talk about just where Texas goes, from here. what are some improvements do you think that I know we talked about some of that, but what does Texas need to focus on these next 2 weeks specifically as we start to get prepared to play the Clemson Tigers?
I'm not as worried about the penalties. I think that will be cleaned up naturally when you prepare for bowl week. I think the focus has to be, which has been a concern for a while now, maybe about a month, is the red zone. I think you have to convert on that. You got to get Bert Auburn confident again, because he has shown flashes he can be an awesome, outstanding kicker. Like last year, he was fantastic. So I think, kickers can be, there's so much pressure, right? Things come down to everything. You just got to build up his confidence. But let's go score touchdowns, guys. Let's stop making things too complex. And like you said, instead of like going fade and going home run, let's try that once. But let's go over the middle. Let's do a little RPO. Let's get Gunnar Helm more involved. Go what works. Go with something that works and make sure, our guys are going to be prepared. Dabo's guys are going to be prepared. But let's try to score in the red zone. Get Bert Auburn's focus up. Defense is going to be good to go. And then I think we need to come up with a trick or two up our sleeves just to make sure that we're ready, because Dabo doesn't play. Dabo's got 2 national championships. Yes, we probably have a better roster right now. I think that's actually, we definitely have a better roster now. But Clemson's a good team. They're well coached. They know how to do this. So let's go out. Let's have a couple of tricks up our sleeves, maybe a fake punt or something to get the offense going if we're struggling again against a really good Clemson defense.
An awesome trick up our sleeve would definitely be Seymour Arch Manning with the running game, and then what we said last week, make an iteration of it where he throws the ball too. That would definitely catch Clemson off guard, because again, he had 2 snaps in the game. One, he ran for 5 yards. He had 1 carry for 5 yards, and the other one he just handed it off to, was it Weisner or Blue? I don't remember who it was.
I don't know.
Yeah, but again, and then the running game we need to get the running game going again. Weisner had 19 carries for 51 yards. Just to get back, I wanted to make this point that I feel like we just kept running between the tackles when that's not our strength. That's not the offensive line strength, and Georgia's defensive line is too strong for that. Our success this year running the ball has been the outside zone, because the running back and our blockers are able to, successfully block that well, and they had that chemistry to block that well. So we got away from that a little bit. We were focused too much, between the tackles. So let's get the running game going. Let's get Jaden Blue a little bit more involved in the passing game, with the screens and the short passes, because he's very successful. We can make people miss. So that's some of the things that this team has a few days to or a few weeks to regroup, get their mind right, for the Clemson Tigers. So again, thank you so much for watching this episode. And before we sign off, I wanted to show 2 more fan videos, that we had. So this gentleman, he was from the Texas X's London chapter. So we flew from London to Atlanta, to come to this game. And he's a UT alumni, graduating in 1996. So let's see his thoughts. This was, again, Friday evening at the Texas One.
Hello guys, my name is Ruben. I'm from the London Texas Exes chapter here in Atlanta for the SEC championship game tomorrow. Hopefully we'll do better than the last time we played Georgia. I think our defense is going to show up, and hopefully the outcome will be what we want. And hook 'em horns.
Hey, this is John Donovan. I'm here in Atlanta, loving it. Very, very excited about the Horns being the SEC championship game. I'm feeling really good about it. Riding the crest of the #1 recruiting class in the country when we got the DL out of Georgia today. So very pumped about that. Love being a sponsor as Longhorn Wealth Management Group for Bobby and the On Texas football crowd. It's awesome. So hook 'em horns.
So shout out to Ruben and John Donovan. John Donovan is from Dallas. He's on the Texas X's Collin County chapter back there in Dallas, a Longhorn alumni, and Ruben as well, from Panama, but he lives in London right now, and he's a Longhorn alumni. So shout out to those Horns fans. But again, thank you so much for watching this episode of Touchdown Texas. Be sure to follow us on our social media channels at touchdown_Texas. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like our content, please like our video as well. Longhorns don't play again, like we said, till December 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern time at home in DKR against the Clemson Tigers. Me and Nick will be back. We're going to do a video next Sunday just breaking down more in depth this Texas-Clemson matchup, as well as the other games in the playoff. And hey, we're going to fill out our bracket, so you can see who we have, making it all the way. But again, thank you everybody very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hook 'em.